Okay, we are back. This is Chapter 7, Section 4, and Napoleon's empire is going to be collapsing.
As fast as he rose to power,
That's right, and this is
gonna
a
come
little
crashing down.
preview of what's to
Aw.
come. Napoleon is sitting by himself on an island. We'll get to that.
Oh, poor thing.
So, really quickly, Napoleon wanted an heir since he was an emperor, so he left his wife Josephine, married a new chick, Marie Antoinette's grandniece, Marie
Ooh.
Louise, and once she had a baby, Napoleon II became the new king of Rome.
I have some love letters that he wrote to Josephine. Napoleon was romantic.
He
Yep.
was. Well, he is
He
French.
was. Oui, oui.
And France will now be aligned with the Austrians, so that was a strategic move as well. Here's the map of Europe we talked about previously.
Then we got Napoleon's mistakes, part of his downfall. The continental system, think of like the continent. Napoleon wants to set up a blockade to prevent his enemy, his arch enemy, right, Britain, from trading with like mainland Europe. And so the goal here is to destroy Great Britain. But Great Britain didn't just give up that, navy and everything. So the blockade that Napoleon sets up is not going to be strong enough to stop goods from coming in, to stop interaction between Britain and the rest of Europe. Remember, Britain's an island, guys. So.
And the British will make an even better blockade of the French, and even the Americans will get sucked in. Americans are selling products to both countries, trying to make money.
Yeah, of course.
And both navies would stop the Americans, and that led to the War of 1812 with the Americans and the British. So here's the continental system, and we see Portugal down here highlighted. And that's going to lead to Napoleon's second mistake. We already talked about this.
Oh, jeez.
All right, the Peninsular War. Portugal would not accept the continental system.
So no siree, we don't need you.
So Napoleon's going to send an army through Spain to get to Portugal.
But you can just do that. Like, what the heck? Spain doesn't want you there.
The Spanish is not going to just roll over and say, sure,
Exactly.
come
Yeah,
on
whatever.
through.
Cool.
So Spanish soldiers are going to attack the French, the guerrillas, and Napoleon will lose 300,000 men, and that's going to hurt him later
That
on.
is
These are
a huge number, especially at this time. Crazy.
highly trained professional soldiers. And,
That's what those guerrilla fighters were, like using sneak attacks and using the land, booby traps.
booby, hit and run. And
Yep.
nationalism's going to begin in Spain, and it's also going to spread throughout Europe, which is another future theme we'll touch upon. And then the invasion of Russia. The Russians, very cold in the wintertime, but no worry, because Napoleon attacks in June
Of course.
of 1812.
Yeah.
So how
Summertime, right?
Yeah. How are soldiers dressed?
Light clothing, packing light. You think that the weather's nice, so you're not going to need to bring too much with you.
And he's French. They're going to roll over and win quick and be back in France before it gets cold.
Except remember, we don't have cars back then, trains, planes. It takes a while to walk from France to Russia.
You got to hoof it.
Think of that.
So the Russians are going to be smart. They will use a scorched earth policy. They're burning their own fields, even if it means they can't eat. They want the French to die. They're going to slaughter their own livestock, and then the French will not be able to find food. And then when it gets cold, they will also freeze.
Yes. So when the French get there, there's nothing for them to eat. The land is bad, so they can't even grow anything. All to sort of that idea of nationalism. Like the Russians would rather destroy themselves than have Napoleon take it over.
And Russians are pretty tough.
Yeah. Pretty.
Moscow, the Russians will burn their own city rather than let the French take it and find shelter there. So Napoleon stays in Moscow until October. Then he says, well, time to go back.
Yep. So unfortunately, temperatures fall, and the Russians keep attacking, and eventually they're going to lose. I think it was out of the 420,000, only, I can't remember, 100,000 came back or something
10,000.
like. Oh, 10,000. I meant 10,000. Sorry. That's a lot of loss of life just from one invasion, and only in a few months. Like that's half a year, and they lost so many men.
So 41 out of every 42 French soldiers died.
That's crazy.
It was so bad and so cold that the French that were alive would take their knives and cut into the horses while they were marching to eat their flesh.
Yeah.
And because it was so cold, the blood would freeze on contact, and it would like cauterize the wound.
That's crazy.
That's how bad it was. And there they are. Look,
Thinking. Yeah, well, we'll get through this. They didn't have snow days back then.
So Napoleon's downfall. Britain,
Good afternoon,
Russia.
clients, Zayas, please report to the
Say Napoleon, please report to the main office.
Stupid announcements. Britain, Russia, Prussia, Sweden, Austria are all going to attack France. Napoleon already lost a bunch of soldiers in Spain.
5 against 1.
Now another 400,000 in
In
Russia.
Russia.
So these are new recruits, not trained, not good.
No. So Napoleon says, I surrender. Gotta accept these terms. We have to, we can't go living like this anymore. And he's exiled to Elba, this beautiful little island off of the coast of Italy.
But he escapes.
Woo!
And Napoleon is going to return to France, becomes emperor again,
Yep.
kicks the king out again. His downfall will be the Battle of Waterloo, which is in Belgium. Napoleon was always famous for getting on his horse, scouting out the battles before, or the areas
Yeah.
of the battles before they took place. Napoleon had hemorrhoids so bad before the Battle of
Oh
Waterloo,
my
he decided,
gosh.
I'm not going to go for a long
Are you serious?
horse ride with
So he was
with
not
the
prepared
hemorrhoids.
for what was going to happen.
He was not
Wow,
prepared.
that is so crazy. I did not know that. So if you ever hear somebody say, "Oh, that was your Waterloo," it means that was your big mistake.
Yep. So these were Napoleon's last attempt for power, the 100 Days, and this time he gets sent away to an island he is not escaping.
No,
It's all the way down here
the
in
coast of Africa.
St. Helena, and he's going to live there for 6 years until he dies of stomach cancer, although some people say the British poisoned him.
Ooh.
We may never know. So that brings us to the conclusion of Section 4.